What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. We have so much to get to in today's video. It is a lot of information all at once, so bear with me. It's the first time I've written notes in ages for a video on this side, but where are the pre-sales at Tier 0 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Daily? We'll get into why that's an issue. Pre-sales are actually up over at Card Brawlers, code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly, and we can compare them to TCG player early prices, which historically I do say to ignore, but they're worth taking notes here on the Megatins a little bit. And then also so many things like ratios. What are the ratios in the tins, John? We're gonna have that breakdown, assuming there's no short prints at Konami and Ba Sing Se, right? There's no short prints over here, but actually it's a huge misconception that last year there were short prints in the Megatins when there weren't. Oh, Dragoon's so hard to pull, it must be shorted. It's that the ratios were that bad, and this year's will be a little bit better if there are no short prints. People are worried about early pulls. Oh, I've seen too many Furjets pulled. I don't think there are short prints considering what we've already seen from early openings, but take the ratios with a grain of salt. So let's start with where are the pre-sales at Tier 0 and Daily? The cases are coming in waves, and Konami has not made a statement on this when they really should. I think for the US it's 2 waves, and for the EU it's 3. So allocation this time isn't just, oh, you don't get your product, you got allocated these tins away, and you'll actually get them later this time, which is awesome. But also, since vendors have to tell everybody this, guess what? A lot of them committed to pre-selling the tins at amazing prices, and they're going to fulfill those orders first over busting open singles. So Tier 0 has to see how many tins they're going to get versus their total order, fulfill those orders first, and so does Daily, and that's why Card Brawlers doesn't have a lot of quantities on their site either to fulfill, but they've actually got some pre-sales up. Second up, let's go with ratios before we do get into the prices so we can understand prices just a little bit better. In the 2021 tins, there are 30 different prismatic secret rares. There are 48 ultra rares, 37 super rares, 22 rares, and 123 commons. Assuming there's no short prints, you do get in each Mega Pack 2, 1 secret, 2 ultras, 2 supers, a rare, 12 commons. That means per 10, you get 3 secret rares, 6 ultra rares, 6 super rares, 3 rares, and 36 commons. So multiply that all by 12 for a case. You're pulling in an entire case of Megatins, 36 secrets, 72 ultras, 72 supers, 36 rares, and a whopping 432 commons. That's a lot of cards, and when you look at regular core set product, you are spending $60 a box for 12 boxes. That's $720 at MSRP at $20 a tin, which these tins are already going up and spiking in price. Well, you would be spending around $720 for 3 cases, so keep that on, like, in your mind on the back end, and also that vendors initially probably paid around 10.8 to 12.5 a tin, depending on how many they ordered and what kind of good deal they got, but the secondary market still dictates prices. So, to the ratios, you will have a total of 36 secret rares pulled versus 30 total different secret rares in the card pool, giving you only 1.2 average of each prismatic secret rare per case this year. That means it's pretty hard to pull things like IDP and also Ecclesia, but as you open up 3 cases, that's actually the exact same ratio as the ultra rares from stuff like Genesis Impact. It's 3.6 for 3 cases for that $720. So basically think ultra rares from Ancient Guardians, that kind of stuff, except you don't have that collector rare pulling the magnet of value, so they're pretty hard to get. Then ultra rares are 1.5 average per case, which is up from last year's 1.44. You have 72 total ultras pulled thanks to the 2 per 10, or 2 per pack, I should say, 6 per 10, and then 48 in the pool. So that means out of 2 cases, we should see a playset on average of crossout designator if it's not shorted, which is better than Dragoon by a hair, and that means in 3 cases, we should see 4.5. Again, you're going to be looking at 3 crossout designators, though, where people were looking for 1 Dragoon, and Dragoon initially flopped in the TCG and took several ban lists to really take off to that $70+ mark. Then the super rares, you have 72 total pulled versus 37 in the pool, giving you almost 2 per case at 1.95 average per case. So yeah, a case again is 12 total 10s, and these They're not the easiest things to get, but they'll be in mass still. And then the rares are actually harder than the supers, notably. You pull a total of 36 versus a pool of 22, giving you 1.64 average of each rare. That's why when you see buyouts and the Megatins go before the core set ones, it's because there's less of them generally out there. And then 432 commons versus a pool of 123 gives you just above a playset per case at 3.51 average. If you notice, that's actually only not even double the super pull rate, which again is why commons can go up on buyouts and stuff like that. But then again, think about the new common ratios. They're literally half the set at just 50 now, so there's less commons in core sets. That being said, vendors again paid a certain range, and people busting this will get a huge win with stuff like Designator early on, as we look at TCG Player, and they're trying to price it at 130. But notice it's only one listing, two listings with sales rates. People are coming out in competition on stuff like Nadir Servant 25 starting to slash, and these don't feel the most realistic to me, but I will note that Triple Tactics Talent, unlike Pot of Extravagance, doesn't have a reprint beforehand. It doesn't have that Toon Chaos reprint to help drive it down, and we don't see another reprint on the horizon currently, so people are trying to free range, where historically the chase cards in the 10 that are reprints are around $20, the MSRP of a 10. Extrav managed to be around 20 with a reprint before, and we're missing Access Kotaku, Lightning Storm, Droplet. There's not another fully generic print. Like Nadir Servant is an archetype, Zeus is specific to Xyz. This is the only fully generic chase in the 10 besides original to the 10 crossout Designator, which has no other printing. Now, when we look at card brawlers over here, they have Designator a bit cheaper, and you can use code What'sGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly, so know that I'm incentivized. I still feel like this is a $70 to $75 card. Realistically, my Hopium was around 50, but with how sealed the Megatin cases are going, on eBay they're nearing 300, on TCG Player they're 300, Gamer's Choice even is playing that game of saying, you know what, I don't think it's worth waiting on Wave 2 to rip open for singles. These are going hot right now for the singles, and I don't blame them. I think this is the smart choice, because with Wave 2, what are you gonna do? Jump into an aftermarket that's already like going one way another? No, I think it's smart to take the guaranteed money, so I understand why they have this, and with code What'sGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly, it's actually the cheapest 10s on market, but you got to wait on them, and I'm cringing. I'm actually really upset with this entire situation. It's not good for the players, it's not good for the singles aftermarket, it's pretty much bad for everybody except Konami, who makes their full total sale. I really think they should put out a disclaimer on what's happening to the community, Konami. Then you have Triple Tactics Talent at 33. I actually urged them to put this lower than 40 for you guys, so they put it down to 33. I think that's a lot more reasonable. Zeus I get at being around $20, 21 here, and then Nadir Servant around 21, just undercutting TCG Player, where you see it's 24, etc. I told them, look, TCG Player's up. I really would be comparing, but they're already seeing sales on stuff like IDP secret rares in this range at 17, so they're not lowering them, and I do get that Canada has a bit of a different market. That's why I tell you guys, always shop around. Don't just look at what I'm showing you. Look at eBay, look around, and then stuff like this, Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, I feel like that's an $8 card maximum after the 10 reprints, but here's where I pull up my notes and bring up a lot of points about the 10s you might not want to hear. There were no special editions for Rise of the Duelist, Eternity Code, and Phantom Rage. There was for Ignition Assault. That's why I think things like Rose will be maximum 5, realistic 3. A lot of the 10 cards will still fall out, but keep in mind that with all the prices going on here, a lot of these things don't even have an unlimited print right now. Then, also, Eternity Code and Rise of the Duelists were shorted on production, so people are super thirsty for these cards, and they've waited a long time. Triple Tactics Talent also doesn't have a reprint like Extrav. I've already covered that. The 10s are releasing in waves, and allocation, again, means this time that there's 2 waves likely for the US, 3 for the EU. I don't know exactly how the US is going to work, though, yet. Most vendors are filling 10 cases first, which I've covered, which means that they can't bust singles like usual, and a lot of people seeing the sealed prices once again are going to go selling sealed rather than rolling the dice, risking it unless they really see the profit in mass. And that's why you're seeing prices stack up like this. But I still think a lot of them are too high. Like Alba's at 12, even with the structure coming. I think this is a $3 to $5 card that will go up later. I think Card Brawlers is actually speculating too much. As much as I love them as a sponsor, I put the audience first. I think a lot of cards are too high, but there are things to speculate on pre-sales here right now, like the top archetype, the generic cards, and it's interesting to look at these prices. Crossout is a 3 of in the main deck, where Dragoon was a 1 of. Dragoon flopped. I already covered that. Wow, I actually got to a lot of my notes. Huge competition on singles will still happen. Also, you will see vendors step in and rip this open because it's the most open product of the year, even with the hype happening now, and people will also be busting theirs and selling what they don't need. That is a commonality. It's likely the most open product of all year, but so far the most hyped as well, and best product that we've seen despite what is missing. Remember, Ghost from the Trash's early hype before singles, and now it's gone only down. All this hype is happening after the singles. Keep that in mind. This is an after reaction, a sudden grab for things, last minute scramble, and you're seeing this spike. It's not a beforehand hoping for good singles. This is an after. And then finally, people plan to diamond hand the 10s after seeing the last 2 years of 10s and watching them go up. And another note is that the 2022 10s is also part of a collectible. I think this is actually weak reasoning, but some people will make it display, where the 2020, 2021, and 2022 10s will all stack on top of each other. So with pre-sale prices like this, $100 crossout designator, $33 talents instead of 20 where you usually see the chases settle, I would have thought Zeus would be 15, 16, Nadir Servant trying to be 21. It'll be interesting as competition ramps up to see how it actually bottoms out, because I do feel like these are still a bit high, but I also actually think talents is more noteworthy. It could be around $35 to $40, all things considered, when you do look at history versus waves versus now not having unlimited copies. We're new territory with these 10 reprints and a lot of different X factors versus our usual 10s delivering of singles. But I only think it's a couple cards that will go kind of wonky, not everything as a whole, and you'll see a bottoming out versus these early prices that really don't feel worth it on certain cards, even that are good. Like Archosaur being 13, that's probably going to be, even with the Dino Structured X being a factor, a $5 ultra rare. I don't see this sticking 13. And when I'm looking at Torn Scale, that's pretty darn specific. You're telling me it's not even gonna half in price? I would think that this, again, would probably be a $5 ultra rare, even with the ratios. Not everything can be money. Vendors are still going to cutthroat opening and then try to make their money off the bigger singles, because look at what they paid. They paid around $12.50 at 10. You can do the math, around the $150 at the max, and less if they got a better deal. Well, one crossout designator, one talent, and one Zeus, and they're there at these prices. So yeah, it will still be undercutting versus the sealed, but a lot of people will choose to sell sealed or either diamond hand sealed, so keep that in mind. Thanks for watching today's video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hopefully this was educational and gave you things to consider moving forward with the 10s and also pre-sales as they do pop up, and expect pre-sales to have a lot less quantities than usual, unfortunately.